So I'm going to be talking about how I was able to acquire a 50K plus net worth at 25. I'm 26 currently. I'm going to be 27 in a few months. But the short answer is gold. And there's a bit more sophistication to my answer. And then I'm also going to be talking about women in this because in terms of finance, the prospect of women in relation to the financial aspect that it comes to manifestation, because I will be positing that women are probably the most common liability that men get involved with. And there's a lot of phenomena that can substantiate this, but nevertheless. And then the third part of this video that I'll chop into three is how it's really white men, but it's like the common guy turned into worshiping his wife, and it's like this wife worship nonsense that you'll see like on, people from the school you went to in your hometown or wherever. But you'll see it like on social media, some guy going crazy because his wife is doing whatever, and they think that love is real, so they're like plugged in. As much as like the red pill has come to the fore in terms of the woman red pill, the manosphere one, people still subscribe to this nonsense. Like we saw it with Tucker Carlson and Tommy G in the last few Nick interviews, where Tommy G said like my wife is magical or some nonsense like that, and then Tucker Carlson's like, I think he said the trope I'm going to talk about. He said women help you build or some shit. He said something retarded like women bring the success or something. I can't really remember, but that notion that, anyways, I'll get into it. But this first part, it wasn't just gold that got me 50 G's. I had started buying a few ounces in 22. I'll preface it with this. But I think late 21, I bought like my first tenth of an ounce, and I just kept accruing. By 22, I had started really getting into it, and that's when I was saving up my checks for my little goy job, and I was buying ounces. But what inspired me, I think more than anything, was the media I've always watched, particularly with Zeitgeist, because it talks about the Fed, right? And what's made me lucrate more than anything is information, because without having a curiosity to learn about the Federal Reserve, I wouldn't have learned about fiat money, in contrast to bullion money or real vehicles of money like gold or silver or whatever. And I've also at that time I was audiobooking a lot of J. Edward Griffin's treatise, The Creature of Jekyll Island, The Creature from Jekyll Island, where he talks about the bankers J.P. Morgan, Jacob Schiff, Max Warburg, Daddy Warbucks, Kuhn and Loeb, and there's a few others, other Rothschild agents that were in Jekyll Island in 1913 and repealed or legislated, or put into motion the legislation for the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, and that is what proliferated that system. In addition, that conspiracy has always floated around in early YouTube days, or in the Illuminati, like low IQ conspiracies of all Jay-Z, Beyonce, and then if you dig more into it, you'll eventually hear the banks notion. Like people say, oh, it's the banks, and that, you'll get into that spiel, and people might dig more from there, and they'll find out that the money is, what like Andrew Tate says, like the money's fake, it has no value. I mean, it does have value. I hate when he says that, or people like that say that. What gives it value is its market position, its spot price, so to say. So that fiat money has value because it is traded at a certain rate, not because it's like that cynical Tate red pill. It's just paper, it is what it is. But gold has more of a historical precedent for value. So even as a naive 22-year-old, I was buying it then because I knew it was going to pay off. Not as much as I saw it to become like in 24, but I knew it was going to pay off one day. But that's why I'm saying that information is the premier thing you want to get into. I'm researching right now. Like I was researching options because I still don't even get it. There's so much to that, like beta and gamma and these terms that, when the option strikes and the call strike, puts or whatever, all these things I still don't understand. And I'm also hearing from this a little bit off topic, but there's for people that don't know, maybe you're not on X or on this side of YouTube, but there is a numerologist. I've talked to him before. I'm Catholic, so I'm not a numerologist. I do believe it is communing with demons. But he did say that this year there's going to be deflation. So I am looking into treasuries and these other instruments of finance where if there is deflation, I would be able to lucrate. So this is the thing. You want to just continuously research, because I was able to lucrate from metals, but you have to be labile. You have to be able to switch your strategy at any given moment. And talk about, that's almost like art of the war stuff. Be formless, how Taoism states, Lao Tzu and stuff like that. So I am like a hardcore gold head, so to say. I don't know, gold stacker is a better term. But you have to be willing to be able to switch your financial standing, because like warfare, the climate changes, or the temperature changes. And in this case, I do see deflation being possible. And it's very complicated because I guess I'll give a little bit of background on my stance on the Trump, Venezuela, and what's going on currently. I mean, currently it's the 14th of January, 26. And Trump, I didn't vote for Trump because he promised his whole shtick was mass deportations, and even though the MAGA base forgets, that was his shtick. So I didn't vote for him because Nick Fuentes did advocate for that, and I was, not to get off topic, but I was a hardcore Nick Fuentes supporter in 24. Not so much now. I disagree with some things. This is jingoism, but what I do see being a possibility though is that Trump is acquiring land, and he could be very aggressive with that. He could be more expansive, and that in and of itself creates value for America, because empire building has value, as we see with China currently. So that could possibly create deflationary conditions, I believe. And given what GG33 has said, Gary the Numbers Guy, that is a possibility. So I am kind of looking into that, and I'm very curious to see what will happen this year. And I can't just rely on gold forever because it is such a safe haven. I don't know that right now would be the best to just stick 100% with gold, because most of my net worth is in gold, and I really love gold, but things change. And it's, especially now, more than anything, the United States is suffering instability, not just geopolitically, but financially. So it's going to create phenomena that we don't see, like with what happened with gold and silver just keeps exploding. I do think there's going to be a correction tomorrow, I mean, there's kind of a correction today. It opened a little bit low and tanked a little bit, but then throughout the day it kind of went up. I don't know if it's gonna keep doing that. I mean, it's been going up like a lot the past 5 days, so I'm very skeptical. I might just put my little liquid right now in T-bills or whatever. But yeah, I am looking into other instruments because you can't just the main commodity, so to say, that I've been able to lucrate from is information, like warfare entails, as I mentioned, Sun Tzu's, Prince of Tenets. And here we talk about my favorite topic. No, I'm actually trying to stray away from talking about women. I don't want to be known as like a red pill manosphere guy because I'm actually not. Obviously, as you guys can tell, I'm not the biggest ladies man, right? I'm not that, and I don't want to pretend like I am. So my personal anecdotal experience with women is not. People could take it with a grain of sand, a grain of salt for that reason, but I just don't want to make that my brand. Really, I want my brand to be like music, politics, and sneakers. So women are kind of in the political sphere, that theme. But I don't know, like my TikTok for so long has been me just rambling to my phone talking about women. Oh my god, this woman, that, and I'm just like, I kind of want to just get on my music stuff and stuff. But this has to be addressed because women are the biggest liability, not just like financially, but it's very deep in an existential way because it's not just the fact that they have this feminist temperament and predisposition with every little aspect that comes up in the dynamics of men-women relations. Like, for example, when finances are brought up, they're operating from a position that they become cynical. Like, I guess a perfect example would be the tweet I just sourced for this video. But when it comes to like chores, you bring up the reality of what that is. You will have to husband your part. You'll have to husband your husband and cook for him and wash the dishes and do the laundry. And they see that as subjugation, and they feel as though the answer to that is a occupation, and that is the liberation. And that is where they're completely just, not only is that naive and like childlike, but it's also very cynical, and it leads them to become lost because they don't realize that. I mean, it's just as simple. They're just rather than subordinating to their husband, they become subordinate to their career.